Chris has his first call. It's from Dan, who has a rash all over his body.
So what's your question?
My question is, what makes the blood vessels burst in Henoch, Schönlein, purpura?
Come again? What's the diagnosis, Doc?
That sounds to me like a case of, I want to know what makes the blood vessels burst in Henoch, Schönlein, purpura-itis.
That's a right mouthful.
Do you have Henoch, Schönlein, purpura?
Yes.
And is that why you've got that rash?
Yes.
First of all, let's have a little look.
Sure.
Do you want to drive the ouch cam? So looking here, we can see that the blood vessels have leaked a bit of blood under the skin.
That's a good one, though.
That's a really good one, isn't it?
But why does Henoch, Schönlein, purpura make this happen?
Well, this is caused by Dan's own immune system attacking his blood vessels. The lining of the blood vessels becomes inflamed and those blood vessels become leaky.
Yeah.
Now, Henoch, Schönlein, purpura, as weird as it sounds, is actually very, very common. And most of the time, it gets better with either no treatment or a short course of drugs called steroids. OK, Dan, well, you have been an absolute star. Would you like an Operation Ouch sticker?
Yes, please.
Earlier in our emergency department, we had a nosy at Evie's cut nose.
She'd been playing with her mate Liam in the park on some outdoor exercise machines.
But when Evie climbed on, she slipped and the handle hit her on the nose.
Evie's come to see the surgical team to find out if she needs an operation.
Luckily, Dr. Susie Yao knows what to do.
What's the plan?
What I need to do is have a really quick look. Is that OK?
Dr. Susie needs to work out if the butterfly strips have done a good job or whether Evie needs stitches. With this type of cut, both options will leave a small scar, just like her dad's.
A scar can happen when skin heals after a cut.
Healthy skin is made up of cells and proteins arranged in a crisscross pattern. It's called the extracellular matrix.
When you get a cut, sometimes scar tissue forms. This is when the cells and proteins heal in a straight pattern, and it can make the skin look shiny or a different colour.
Evie is hoping to avoid having an operation because she has a school trip to get to which starts in an hour.
Do you know what? That's done very, very well. Done a really, really good job of basically bringing the cut together. So actually, I'm not really worried about it.
Hooray! Evie's avoided surgery.
Looks like they might make it trip, Evie.
With a quick clean and brand new butterfly strips, Evie should just about make it.
Well done, you. OK.
So next time you see gym equipment in the park, what are you going to do?
Not go on it.
I was thinking just be more careful. Bye, Evie!
Let's head back to accident and emergency.
To see our next patient.
And this one's itching to see a doctor. Over in Liverpool, there's a 6-year-old waiting with his mum in the emergency department.
Hi there, my name is Angel.
Hi, Angel.
Da 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 da.
It's the Angel theme tune.
Oh, hang on, it's the Angel face-off.
Scary. But why are you here, fella?
There's all these red spots on here, like everywhere.
Oh no, red spots everywhere. Well, how did it happen?
Angel was sitting in school listening to his teacher telling a story when he felt the urge to be sick.
Breaking news. Angel's mum has arrived to pick him up from school.
At home, Angel was lounging on the sofa feeling unwell.
News just in. Mum spotted a rash appear on Angel's jaw. It's spreading fast.
Angel carried on watching TV, but the rash was starting to itch.
Keeping you up to date on Ouch News.
Angel felt really poorly. The rash was out of control.
Newsflash, Angel's rushed straight to hospital. Ouch.
They feel like itchy.
It feels itchy. Well, here to check out that rash in a flash is Dr. Shirley Mulvaney.
I'm just going to have a look at you, OK? I'm just going to press your tummy a little bit and you tell me if it's sore anywhere.
Dr. Shirley first feels Angel's tummy.
It's a bit sore, yeah.
Then she checks his heartbeat to make sure it's in good working order.
Because Angel's been so sick, she needs to rule out any infections or injuries.
So what's the verdict, Doc?
His chest is absolutely clear, his heart's beating absolutely fine, and there isn't anything that worries me when I have a feel of his tummy. It all looks very virally. The rash, it's almost like a hay fever of the skin.
A rash is a noticeable change in the texture or colour of the skin.
Skin may become scaly, bumpy, itchy or red.
Rashes can be serious. A rash that won't disappear under a glass could be meningitis, so it's important to get it checked by a doctor.
However, in Angel's case, his rash has been caused by a viral infection.
There's no magic treatment for the viral infection, so essentially he wouldn't need any antibiotics. We can give him a medicine that essentially stops him from itching.
Angel is given antihistamines, which will calm the rash and help relieve the itching.
Now he's feeling better, there's something on Angel's mind.
What do you want for dinner?
French and chicken.
French fries and chicken?
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
That's it? You sure?
Sounds good to me.
So Angel's off home for his French fries and chicken. Bye!
About with our mobile clinic.
Today we're at a theme park to help solve your medical mysteries.
If you're anxious about an ailment or curious about a condition, then the Ouchmobile is the place for you.
That is incredible.
Xand is preparing the clinic, ready for his first patient.
And Chris is out in the park to answer your burning questions.
Now we're ready for business.
Can I see the next patient?
First up is Anastasia, with something she feels she needs to keep a watch on.
So Anastasia, what's brought you to the Ouchmobile today?
I have something strange hidden under my watch.
So, what's the diagnosis, Doc?
Sounds to me like a case of I've got something strange hidden under my watchitis.
That's exactly what I'd say. Let's have a look then.
Oh, that's great. So that is what a doctor would call a compound melanocytic nevus. It's a mole. So what you can see here is a very typical mole. It's quite a big one, but it's got irregular edges. It's a patch of darker skin than the surrounding skin, and it's slightly raised, but it looks like a very typical mole.
How do I know if it's dangerous?
Sometimes moles can cause trouble. The things that you'd look for, if it changes shape, it changes size, if it changes colour particularly, or it becomes itchy, or it starts to bleed at all, any of those changes, you want to take it to your GP and get them to have a look at it.
Thanks for answering my questions, Dr. Xand.
Away from the clinic, Chris is out and about in the park solving your medical mysteries.
Dr. Chris, why do you get pins and needles sometimes when you lie in a weird position?
When you're in a weird position with either your leg or your arm, what's happened is you cut off the blood supply to that limb. So often you'll find that the arm or leg goes dead and you can't feel anything at all. And as the blood and oxygen go back to the nerves, they wake up again and start sending all sorts of weird signals back to your brain, which you feel as pins and needles.
Why do you have a stitch when you run?
You'll notice your stitch is worse if you run soon after you've eaten. And that's because when you run, you want to send all the blood in your body to your muscles so they can do work. And that takes the blood away from your guts. And if you've eaten food, your guts are trying to digest the food. And if they lack blood, then they start to hurt and they start to complain because they want more blood. So if you run on an empty stomach and you warm up slowly, you won't get the stitch.
Back at the clinic, there's a familiar face in the waiting room.
Can I have the next patient? Oh, it's you again, Anastasia.
Yep, she's back for more.
So Anastasia, how come you're back?
All my friends in my school have an innie belly button, but I have an outie.
What's the diagnosis, Doc?
Sounds to me like a case of I've got a belly button that doesn't know where it's supposed to be, itis.
Spot on.
That is a very impressive outie belly button.
So why do I get an outie belly button?
When you're inside your mum before you're born, you need to get fed, and you don't get fed through your mouth, you actually get fed through your belly button, through a thing called the umbilical cord, and that gets blood and nutrients and oxygen into your body. And after you're born, you don't need it, so we clamp it off, and the cord just dies and falls off. And usually, when things die and drop off, you get a bit of a scar formation. That scar tightens up and pulls the belly button in. But in lots of people, that doesn't happen, but it's not a problem, it's completely normal. In fact, it's quite special.
Really special.
Job done for today. Dad.
It's sore and it's hurting.
Ooh, what happened?
Chris was in the garden with his sister and two of her mates. They were all playing Britain's Got Talent.
Oh, yes! Can I be Simon Cowell?
It's a no from me. Anyway, the girls were the judges, hands poised over their buzzers, watching the best act of the day. It was...
a dog dressed as a spaceman juggling ice creams?
Even better than that, Chris was doing parkour, so jumping and rolling off stuff.
Well, sounds fun.
Yes, but as he did his final move, a gravity-defying don't try this at home leap, He slipped on some moss and cut his hand on the gate.
Ouch! Don't worry, Chris. Here's Dr. Claire Thompson.
You sliced it on metal, didn't you? So what we'll do is we'll send you for a little x-ray on your hand to make sure there's no little pieces or anything that shouldn't be.
If Chris has any metal in his cut, it could get infected.
You can see the cut, can't you? See where it looks more black in there? But there's no bits of metal, there's nothing else in there.
It's looking good.
It is. Next up, Dr. Claire makes sure Chris hasn't lost any feeling in his hand.
Can you feel this?
I can't feel it that much.
It could have damaged the nerves, which then might have caused the sensation to be lost.
Is it going to need stitching?
Yeah.
Because this is a deep cut in a complicated place, Chris needs to come back tomorrow for surgery.
So, with a temporary patch-up, it's off home for the night.
We'll be back later to see how Chris gets on.
Chris's cut was too deep to fix in A&E, so he's back bright and early to have surgery. It's definitely looking a bit yucky.
It's gone all purple.
Chris needs a general anaesthetic, so he'll be asleep for the operation. Sweet dreams.
Ready to get handy with Chris's hand is Dr. Susie Yao. Let's give her a big hand.
Enough with the hand jokes.
So, just give it a quick clean.
Her first job in surgery is to check for any serious injuries.
Inside your hand, there are lots of nerves, tendons, and blood vessels. These things are vital to your hand, and so they are wrapped in a protective tissue called the palmar fascia. If Chris's cut goes deeper than this protective layer, it could lead to complications. Over to you, Dr. Susie.
There is always a risk that these important structures can be damaged. And if they're damaged, then in the long run, that can cause poor healing and poor function.
Time for a thorough examination. Gross alert.
Amazingly, he has not breached his fascia. Very lucky.
Great news. Now it's time to prep the cut ready for stitches.
What I did was I took away a little bit of tissue on either side of the cut. It's important to create a brand new, fresh edge for the skin to heal nicely.
And they've stitched him up in no time.
Lovely job.
Over in the recovery room, our patient is still feeling a bit sleepy after his operation. Whoa, bit wobbly there, Chris.
But don't worry, the anaesthetic will wear off very soon.
Anything you've learned from this?
Don't climb over fences.
And will you be entering any more playtime talent contests?
This is one act Simon Cowell won't be seeing anytime soon. Bye, Mini Chris.
Today we're at a theme park to solve your medical mysteries.
Chris is preparing the Ouchmobile for his first patient.
And Xand is out in the park to answer your burning questions.
That's amazing! At the clinic, Chris is open for business.
Next patient, please.
First in is 9-year-old Alfie with his multicoloured mop.
So, Alfie, what brings you to the Ouchmobile today?
So I have a birthmark in the back of my head, which is light brown when all the rest of my hair is dark brown.
What's the diagnosis, Doc?
Right, this sounds like a classic case of I have a birthmark on the back of my head, which makes some of my hair light brown, while the rest of it is dark brown-itis.
Huh, easy for you to say.
Should we have a closer look? Can you open the eyelid for me? So there you are. Yeah. Now, can you turn around and show me this blondish patch? And that just looks like you've got a little spray can of light brown paint and squirted it on the back of your head.
Okay.
So, the cells that make those hairs aren't making hair pigment, and it's a thing called poliosis.
Okay.
So that bit of hair may keep getting lighter as you get older.
Okay.
Well, Alfie, thank you for bringing in your light brown patch of hair on the back of your head.
Well, thank you, Dr. Chris.
That's a real pleasure.
Away from the clinic, Xand is ouching about in the park.
Why, just before we're about to vomit, does our mouth start to fill with sweat?
So what's actually happening is that your mouth is kind of getting ready for you to be sick and trying to protect itself by putting a lot of saliva into your mouth at once. It's just your mouth trying to protect you because, you know, there's a bit of acid in your stomach, it doesn't taste very nice, and so you kind of get a watering mouth just before it happens.
Back at the Ouchmobile, there's a new case in the waiting room.
Next patient, please.
And it's 9-year-old Niella, whose eye needs examining.
So, Niella, what brings you to the Ouchmobile today?
I've got a spot on my eyeball.
What's the diagnosis, Doc?
Well, this sounds like a classic case of I've got a spot on my eyeball-itis.
Spot on.
So we can see the spot on your eyeball. Why don't you open our eyelid? And there you are. Now, I want you to get in really close. And there, we can see it just there. It's very faint, isn't it? It's called scleral melanocytosis.
I want to know why it's there.
It's a bit like having a freckle in your eye, and it's just where the cells are making a bit more pigment, a bit more of the colour that goes in your skin.
Well, will it stay there forever?
Yeah, you will probably have that for the rest of your life, but that's okay, isn't it? I mean, I think it looks quite cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Naila, for bringing in your scleral melanocytosis for me to see.
Thank you, Dr. Chris.
Job done for today. Clinic closed.
Waiting in the emergency department with her mum and sister is 7-year-old Kira. What's happened to your chin, Kira?
I was riding my bike from school and I was riding it too fast and I went over the handlebars and skidded on the floor.
Ooh, she scraped her jaw on the floor. That must be sore. Let's find out more. Kira was heading home from school on her bike with her sister. Oh no, Chris, she's not wearing a helmet. I know, Xand. But anyway, Kira was cycling along and it was raining cats and dogs. Really? No, it's a saying, Xand. It was just raining, heavily. So Kira shouted to her sister, "Hurry up and get home!" Good idea. She was riding like the wind, going so fast that when she went to stop, she skidded, hurtled over the handlebars, and landed on her chin. At least it wasn't her head. Ouch! In charge of checking that chin is Dr. Robert Smith.
So can you just bend your knee for me again?
It's important for Dr. Smith to rule out a more serious head injury before he looks at Kira's chin. He tests her nerves by first checking her reflexes and then making sure she has feeling in all parts of her body.
Okay, can you feel that?
Yeah.
Dr. Smith then goes on to check that her eyes are working properly.
You see that black box up on the roof there? So I want you just to stare at that for me. Okay, and now stare at my finger.
That's a pretty intense stare.
The neurological examination was fine, so she didn't have any worrying symptoms of a head injury.
Great news. Time to take a look at her cut.
She did have a sort of small laceration on her chin, and I'm going to ask the nurse to come in now and just make sure it has a good clean, and then we'll close it with some wound glue.
How's our patient Kira feeling?
I'm feeling a bit scared.
Oh, there's nothing to be scared of. You'll be fixed up in a jiffy. The nurse gives the wound a good clean. Gross alert! Look away if you must. And with an extra pair of hands to hold the edges together, the special wound glue is applied.
Big girl.
And just like that, Kira's all fixed up. How's it feeling?
It's okay.
Excellent. Anything you've learned from today?
To not ride fast.
Anything else?
Always wear a helmet.
Spot on. Bye!
Unfortunately, things got on top of our next patient.
That's right. A lot of things right on top of him.
Luckily, he came to the emergency department.
In Sheffield Accident and Emergency, 5-year-old Frankie is waiting to see the doc with his dad and his nan. How did you get that cut, Frankie?
One landed on my head very completely.
What landed on your head very completely?
And then crack.
Yikes! But what was it? Let's get the full story. Frankie was playing in his school playground. Wow, that playhouse is huge. It looks awesome. It does, but Frankie and his mate Harry had grand ideas of their own. They started to build the biggest skyscraper in the history of the world ever. It's a whopper. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But as they were busily building, it got knocked and came crashing down. Oh no! One of the big blocks hit Frankie on the head, knocking him over. Ouch!
My daddy thinks I'm crazy, but I'm not. I'm not even crazy.
Come on in, Dr. Robert Eastman, before these two fall out.
Did you hurt anywhere else on your body?
No, just my head.
Just the head. Okay.
Yeah, because do you want to look at it?
Yeah, I do want to look at it, if that's okay.
I think it's a broken bone too.
Well, shall I have a look and find out for you?
Yeah,
Is that the best
it's
thing
with
to
an
do?
X-ray, and then you can show it me on the screen.
Okay.
I think we should call you Dr. Frankie. But the other doctor in the room starts by checking the nerves which control his eyes.
I need you to pull some funny faces for me. Squeeze your eyes nice and tight shut. Show me your teeth.
That is a funny face, Frankie.
But it looks funnier than my jokes.
You do jokes. Go on.
Why did the chicken cross the road?
I don't know.
To get to the other side. Not funny, is it?
It's better than Xand's jokes, that's for sure.
Oi.
Next, Dr. Robert has a good look at that cut.
Does that hurt the most?
Yeah, that hurts the most.
Around here.
What's the diagnosis, Doc?
Probably don't need an x-ray because your bones feel fine. We'll get to go and see the nurses and see if they can pop that back together for you.
Nurse Megan Cox gives the cut a thorough wash and then uses special glue to seal it up so it mends properly.
Done. Boom. Boom.
And now this is the end of being on TV.
We miss you already, Frankie. Bye.